What's next for me is to take all this information, the work I've been doing in the seminar on money, the work I've been doing on the markets, and to bring it together in a way that lets people know that there is a path, there are a set of skills to be attained in the learning and mastery of this work. So, what is money? The research is in. There's now an entire field. It's known as behavioral economics. It's also known as behavioral finance. And what they have found, to no one's surprise here in this room, is that people are not necessarily rational decision makers with money. Moreover, they're very often not rational, but curiously enough, they are systematic. And so they have a whole list of all these ways that we trip over ourselves making decisions regarding money, and then tell you, well, don't do that. Even though, of course, we usually discover we did it after we're leaving the store or whatever it was we were deciding. Well, I'm here to tell you there is a system behind it, and we will be exploring that system, how it works, and how you in your individual lives can work it. So, to be completely clear, this is not a money-making seminar. Okay, you're still here. Not directly, anyway. It's not a money advice seminar. Again, the research is in that people can get what they call financial literacy. That you can learn about bonds and stocks and real estate and the rest. You can have that knowledge and apparently still make very poor decisions. So we're talking about a different kind of education, developing a different ability than people think they need to develop. I'm going to demonstrate something to you. And I'll tell you right now, even though you'll find it disturbing, and that is that money is not real. I told you to find it disturbing. It's not, well, let me put it another way. It's not out there in the world, or more specifically, it's not only out there in the world. That money is as much in our imagination as it is in our pockets or our pocketbooks. That is, money is more than one thing. And yet, when we think of it as something, then we think about, well, how can I get more of it? How can I save it? How can I use it more wisely? And that certainly is knowledge to have. But money is more than that, and I think most of you know that. If you think about the social and psychological factors. Social factors, for example, money is used to determine status in our world. Psychological factors, that it's a pleasure to have money. But curiously, it can be a pain or distress for the money you don't have. And that's a demonstration that it is, in a sense, in your imagination as much as anywhere else. I will demonstrate that money gets into all, or at least most aspects of our lives. And as again, some of you may know that. But even if you know about these social and psychological factors, and you start to ask questions, well, what's important to me about money? You start to think about work-life balance. It matters to you how you get the money. But even then, you're still thinking it's outside of you. So let's clear that up right now. Money is a substance, but it's also a sign, a symbol, a cipher, a story, a ritual, and an abstraction, all at the same time. So if it's just a substance, then we only have so many choices that we can do with it. But as we understand the larger worlds in which money operates, then we will have more freedom to deal with it in new and different ways. If there is any so-called secret of wealth in this seminar, it's that the real foundations of money are hidden. And not only do people not talk about them, until very recently, people didn't know how to talk about them. But we're going to be doing that today. When you master a field, and the practices, the knowledge, and the names. So, for example, engineering, Depending on the kind of engineering, you learn the details, the distinctions of something. You learn the processes involved, and you learn the names of those because it makes it easier to talk to with your colleagues and to remember. So you learn the language of engineering, just like you could learn the language of medicine or the language of marketing and so forth. And people think they learn the language of money, but they're usually only learning a subsection of it. They're learning the language of real estate, or they're learning the language of finance, and that these are not the language of money. In fact, money has its own language, and most of us speak it unconsciously. And we don't realize that we may be just using a few phrases of that knowledge, a few phrases of that language, which keep taking our attention back to those same small set of choices. Okay, this is a bit of academic aside. Every novel of the 19th century is about money. Charles Dickens famously wrote many novels that involved money. There was one, Dombey and Son. And this is the story. He was a businessman, successful businessman in London, and his small son of 5. Papa, what is money? And his father's thinking, well, I'd like to explain to him about currency depreciation and bond terms and so forth. And he thinks, no, my son is 5. So he says, shilling, guinea, pence, pennies, gold, silver, money. And the son goes, yes, I know, Daddy, but what does money mean? And his father thinks, well, money is something that you can do things in the world. You'll be powerful. You can do more of what you want. And his son looks and says, but Papa, money didn't save Mama from dying, and I know that I am weak, and money hasn't made me strong. Money isn't cruel, is it? And that's just a little example of how there are multiple meanings of money. And what money is called points people at certain things. Bread, lettuce, gravy. These are different words for money. Skins, and then later on that became, do you have skin in the game? Meaning, do you have money in this deal? So in your native language, what are some of the other words for money? What is it causing you to unconsciously associate money with? If you associate money with bread, that's food, that's survival, that's pretty important. What comes to mind when you think of money?